Okay, we got to get these bugs fixed. We got to figure
Yeah,
out what we're really doing here because I think people think we know what we're doing.
we don't.
No, we don't.
We're navigating computers and shit like that.
Yeah. So, should we start this next episode?
Let's do it.
All righty, let's go.
Hi, everyone. It's Everything Energy with Tina and Jeremy. I'm Jeremy Bills.
And I'm Tina Falk and startled by that quick transition. It's not what I was expecting.
We're trying to navigate technology this morning and it's not working very well.
No, no. And by the way, it's in the afternoon.
Oh, well,
That could
I
be
don't
why.
even know where the hell I am right now.
Oh my gosh. Here we are
Well,
again.
it's here we are again, and it's Pride Month. Happy Pride, everyone.
Oh, wait. Where's my
Yay.
sound effects?
Yeah. Oh my God, that was amazing. Well, I mean, that was amazing. We've got to use that again.
Right? Nowhere else will you get that kind of
No,
reaction.
no. And nice makeup, Tina. I should have
Thank
worn
you.
some makeup myself.
My glitter
Uh,
heart stickers and
your glitter heart stickers, love it.
rhinestones. Hmm.
We're celebrating Pride Month, and that's what we're dedicating this episode to. Today, we're going to talk about some gay history. I'm going to share some of my stories throughout my life, and we're going to get into some charts today.
People like that when we do that, don't they?
Yeah, they do. We
Me
love
too.
to analyze charts because people are so interesting. And when
Hmm.
you're able to take a look at people's charts, I call, and multiple astrologers call your chart your roadmap to your soul.
Hmm.
Just understanding your specific fingerprint, your specific blueprint for life is really, really important. So that's what
Yeah.
we're going to get into today.
Yeah. So, where do you want to start?
Well, I'd love to start with a little bit of gay history and LGBTQ history. And I would like to start with the Stonewall riots. The
Mm.
Stonewall riots, also called the Stonewall Uprising, began in the early hours of June 28th, 1969, when New York City police raided the Stonewall Inn, a gay club located in Greenwich Village, New York City. The raid sparked a riot among bar patrons and neighborhood residents as police roughly hauled employees and patrons out of the bar, leading to 6 days of protests and violent clashes with law enforcement outside the bar on Christopher Street, in neighboring streets, and in nearby Christopher Park. The Stonewall riots served as a catalyst for the gay rights movement in the United States and around the world. And that really, I mean, throughout all of the 1960s, any kind of gay bar or gay establishment was raided by law enforcement and city
Hmm.
officials, government officials, and it just made it impossible for people to be who they were wherever they were living. And the Stonewall riots really started everything. It really started this uprising of the gay rights movement. So I'm
Hmm.
really thankful to those drag queens and those
Hmm.
gay men for fighting back.
Yeah.
No one thought that they would, but they did.
Oh, I
And it
know, right? There's just this fire inside, right? That just is the light that's leading the way. And I find it, you and I are always looking for trends, and I think it's absolutely appropriate that this happened during the year of the rooster, right?
yes.
Rooster wants to stand out, be
Mhm.
seen, be heard, speak up, be loud and proud, all of that, puff up your chest, strut your stuff, be cocky,
Yeah.
and walk your walk. I think it's the
Yeah.
coolest thing.
It wants to be recognized.
Yeah.
That's why it's
Mhm.
loud, is because it's declaring something.
Mhm. Yeah.
Revolution is a declaration to the world about, "Hey, I'm here."
Mhm.
And so I think that that really was one of the pivotal moments in gay history, um, and really started the ball rolling in the
Yeah.
right direction. Unfortunately, there were a lot of people that had to suffer because of that, and
Yeah.
long before that too. So,
Mhm. And still.
yeah. And I just want to start out with a question. What does pride mean to us? I
Mhm.
know for me, being a gay man growing up in Salt Lake City, Utah, um, just going through religious upbringing and feeling like I didn't belong anywhere, especially in my family, especially in the religion I grew up in, and also the community I grew up in,
Mhm.
feeling so alone and feeling like there was really no hope for living the kind of life that I wanted to live. And I also in my family, my uncle is gay, and he was in the thick of everything in the 80s and 90s in San Francisco.
Oh.
So
Mm.
he was there for the AIDS epidemic, and he was there, living as a gay man, out and proud. And he kind of paved the way for me to come out of the closet, and he was really instrumental in me coming out of the closet and telling me that I could live the kind of life that I wanted and to be out and proud and to be proud of who I was and to just go get the opportunities that were available to me. And I was able to go get those opportunities because of the Stonewall riots. I was able to go do that because of the sacrifices that my uncle made for me and so many other gay men. And that's not to exclude all of the other members of the LGBTQ community. I'm just talking about my experience
Mhm.
personally. But
Yeah.
that's what Pride Month means to me because there's a lot of people that went before me to pave the way to have the life that I have today.
Yeah. I think for me, because when you this is a big question because it's made me kind of go in different directions. But I think overall, it's so fucking inspiring, to know the history of this and to know the resistance and the pushback and the moments of what are we really fighting for? Are we ever going to make it? Just the persistence to keep moving forward just blows my mind because the easy road was okay. We've been defeated. We're going to go into hiding. We'll
Yeah.
do this a different way. Not that some people didn't. Not everybody was a protester or somebody who's going to go out and fight. But it's so inspiring to me that I love that it's becoming more normal. Not that there aren't issues, there are some serious flipping issues, but the fact that
Mhm.
even that the local news will show the local pride parade,
Mhm.
in a positive light, so
Yeah.
they talk about these things and just the inspiration, the hope. There's a quote from Harvey Milk. He's like, without hope, it's there's not a life worth living. And
Mhm.
the people who are on this planet that are faced with these levels of challenges where they're not accepted, they're not being seen and heard, they're not being allowed to be a part of an equal way of living,
Mhm.
um, it's just, it's true. I mean, I don't have enough to say about it. I don't have, I'm a straight woman. I don't have firsthand experience other than I'm a woman. So I have that experience and I
Yeah.
relate everything that no matter who has been pushing back against this white male privilege
Mhm.
ruling system.
Yeah.
Anyway, thanks for bringing that, sharing the history. Is there more you want to share?
I just would love to get into the charts that we're gonna talk about
Yeah.
today. And who do you have up first on deck?
We're going to do Harvey in I've got
Okay,
the
good.
western chart up first.
Okay. Oh my gosh, Harvey Milk. While we're looking at that, I'm gonna read a little bit about, Harvey Milk to those of you that don't know a background of him. Harvey Milk was the first openly gay man to be elected into a position as a city supervisor. First openly gay man to be in a government position. He was also affectionately known as the mayor of Castro Street, and he was assassinated just 11 months after taking up office. Arguably, he has become more famous than he was alive as a martyr to the progress of the gay rights. movement. His political
Mm,
struggles during the 1970s were emblematic of the first major backlash against the gay rights movement of the late 60s and early 70s, and established the terms with political clashes over issues of sexuality, and have been subsequently fought. Let's see here. There was more I wanted to read about him. Let's see. Milk's popularity grew on his third attempt at office in 1977, the year I was born.
mm,
He was elected. At this time, anti-gay sentiment was starting to build in the United States. Political sympathies were moving to the right, and the television evangelism was beginning to grow in popularity.
mm,
Opponents of gay rights championed and threatened the nuclear family and claimed that homosexuals were unnatural and perverted. Recruiters of heterosexuals to their recruiters of heterosexuals to their cause and molesters of children. Individuals like Anita Bryant, thumbs down,
mm,
pop singer, born again Christian, orange juice publicist, and head of the anti gay organization Save Our Children, campaigned and sometimes won. For example, several states repealed their gay rights legislation. So Harvey Milk was actively fighting against the movement against gay rights. And he was really, really instrumental in bringing forth a lot of the gay rights that we are afforded today.
mhm,
So that's just a little bit about him, but I love looking at this chart because I loved looking at his chart. One of the reasons why I love looking at his chart is because before he was so out and proud, he was pretty closeted. And that
mm,
would be really kind of relevant for his sun, the sun in Gemini. Gemini is the sign of duality, the sign of living two sides of one coin. So there was a part of him that was closeted, a part of him that was a little bit worried and afraid of coming out. But then there was this other part of him that just couldn't he couldn't not be in the limelight and really fighting for that. Also, his sun shines in the third house, and the third house is the house of self-expression. Talk about rooster energy.
mm,
He When he spoke, people listened. When he spoke, when he wanted to get his point across, people listened to that point that he was trying to make. His moon is not surprising, is a Pisces moon that's located in the first house of self. That Pisces moon, Pisces is the sign of compassion. It's the sign
mm,
of illusion and confusion, but ultimately it's about empathy. He was an extreme empath. He felt the weight of the world on his shoulders among the gay people in the community and really, really wanted to make a difference. And the reason why he wanted to make a difference is because his rising sign is Aquarius.
mm,
Aquarius is the sign of the revolutionary. And boy, did he create a revolution. So just looking at this chart and looking at his big three is so fun to look at because we can see that that's what his life became. He did live a life of duality, but he also had a point to get across. He really wanted to see a change and make some changes. So, yeah,
mm.
I love this chart for that reason.
Now you said the big 3. That's the sun, moon, and rising?
Yes. Yeah. The
Okay.
sun is your personality, who you are in this life, your natural energy. Your
Mhm,
rising sign is how you put your best foot forward out in the world and how other people see you, but it's also how you're rising to the occasion in this lifetime,
mm,
what you're really stepping into. And then your moon represents your emotional self, the part of yourself that you never really show other people, but then ends up shining through just because of your emotional energy.
mhm. Wow.
So
Fascinating.
I love this chart. I love this chart, and it's quite interesting to see, his 8th house. He has, that little horseshoe up in the 8th house is called the South Node, and the South Node of the moon represents energy that we're here to integrate into this lifetime, but also energy that you've experienced before, and that South Node is in the 8th house of death. Scorpio and the combination of that eighth house energy can represent murder. So
Mm,
it's very possible that he's been a revolutionary in past lives and has been martyred for it. So it's
mm.
interesting to see that connection in his eighth house. It was definitely a contract. It was a spiritual contract that he had.
That's really interesting that you say that because I wrote a note because I wanted to watch Milk again, the documentary on Harvey Milk, and I
Yeah.
took a note um, towards the end, and it to me it felt like this is the only reason he was here was
Mm,
to do what he did. He, I mean, because he was so intense and so hyper focused,
yeah.
and he was such a loving, sweet, caring soul,
Mhm.
but there wasn't space for that because
Mm-mm.
this mission was too big. It was too important. And it just felt like that was everything that he was here for.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's what happens. You know, Nikola Tesla, important people, they come here, they do the thing, they impact, leave a huge imprint on the world, and then they're gone. And like
Yeah.
you were reading at the beginning, he's better known now than he was at the time,
Yeah.
right? His legacy lives on.
Yeah.
Powerful.
Gives me goosebumps. It's so
Mm.
amazing.
Should we look at his Eastern chart?
Let's do it. Wow.
I love his horse because the horse is the trailblazer, right? They're leading the herd. They're independent, they're free-spirited, they don't like limitations, they don't like being told what they can do and what they can't do. And he's just a force. It's a young metal horse. It's just persistent, it's determination and focus. I think
Yeah.
that horse speaks volumes to who he is because where his horse sits is
Mhm.
kind of like the sun sign that you were saying. It's his personality or it's how the world
Mm.
sees you. Is that what it was?
Sun
This
is who your sun is your natural energy, your rising is how the world sees you.
also the
So,
okay, similar to the rising.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I love that horse. The other thing that I love about this chart is all of that metal in what supports him.
Mm.
And metal can be heaven energy. It can be angelic energy. So again, it's like this spiritual contract was given to him to come into this world and to fulfill a huge, huge purpose.
On a yin note, all that metal, almost 50% of his chart, is also patriarchal energy,
Oh, interesting.
making his water toxic, his master element. Because
Oh,
that's the
wow.
father energy on the
Mm.
so that's we've talked about that in the last chart readings we did with Harvey Weinstein and Trump, right?
Yeah.
There's yin and yang. There's these
Mhm.
are frequencies that we're talking about.
Yeah.
And we want to make sure that we're paying attention to all of that. We just don't
Mhm.
want to sugarcoat everything or make everybody seem
No.
to be bad or anything
Or
like
good.
that.
Yeah.
The snake is interesting too, being a snake as well,
Yeah.
being, such an intuitive creature,
Mhm.
sensitive,
Yeah.
really able to feel what's happening and tuning in. I think that's where a lot of the horse and snake is where a lot of his empathy comes from.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that, having that snake in the month pillar with, ruling his mind, he had to be intuitive with what he was doing.
Hmm.
He had
Hmm.
to he had to be instrumental. But again, on the negative side, on the dark side, that can come off as, really kind of plotting a plan, having a lot of secrets, having a lot of not necessarily showing all of your cards.
Hmm. Yeah,
So
I
I'm
noticed a
guessing that
little
there was
bit of manipulation,
Oh, yeah.
in how he would get what he needs, and
Uh-huh.
whether it's in the when he was finally in office or not. There was a little bit of that and a little bit of narcissism, but I thought that's
Mhm.
okay. He needs that, right? He can't be, over like he was. I think he was good at compartmentalizing.
Yeah. Yeah, well, he had to be I mean, look at the young water monkey in his day pillar. I mean, that really I mean, the day pillar really does talk about your relationships, your intimate relationships, and he
Mhm.
had a hard time in relationships, let's be
Mhm.
real.
Yeah.
He wasn't the most, on it when he was, in commitments. That monkey wanted to be swinging through the jungle and being free, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah, I wonder
So
too if the monkey is where it's because it seemed, and maybe this is the Gemini stuff, where
mhm,
he seemed so intensely passionate, but he laughed a lot. He was lighthearted. He had
mhm,
kind of a positive slant that he was able to redirect everybody. Okay, that's fine. We lost that, but we're going to do this next time.
yeah,
And I wonder if
yeah,
that playfulness and silliness was that monkey.
yeah. It had to be because of that
Mhm.
laughter. Yeah,
Hmm. I took so many notes. My computer monitor is plastered with Post-it notes.
with Post-it notes about
Yeah.
his chart. Yeah.
Mhm.
What
Yeah.
about that clash that you see?
Oh, I didn't notice the clash.
Yeah, we've got a clash. The rat and the horse, the
Mm.
emotional body, your how you feel, but then also your year pillar, which is your outward manifestation.
That's a tough one. I know somebody who has that clash. And the horse is what you want everybody to see, and the rat
Mhm.
is who he is on the inside. So, rat is secretive. That's probably why it took him a while to come out,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Holding that on. And I have to be
Mhm.
honest, I think every gay man's chart I've pulled has had a rat in it.
Oh, interesting. That's
Mhm.
I have a rat in my emotions pillar, and so does my husband.
Yeah, it's in there somewhere. Sometimes it's in the family pillar, in the month pillar,
Uh-huh.
but that secretive kind of, oh, we're just going to keep it hidden, keep
Yeah.
things tucked away. So what that how I've seen that manifest, I don't know about you, is those people are misunderstood. It's hard to
Mhm.
read them. It's hard to get close because they're presenting one way, but who they really are is a different way.
Yeah. Yeah, and that, again, can lend itself back to the Gemini energy. Geminis
Mhm.
will show you what they want you to see, but they could be a totally different person behind closed doors.
Interesting.
But I find it interesting that that horse, here I am, everybody look
Mhm.
at me, but that rat is like, "Oh god," right? So it's like, I don't wanna be seen. So it's interesting that his life
Mhm.
path took him into the limelight, whereas that rat was probably still feeling really, really insecure or really, really freaked out about being there. But
Mhm.
that horse really took over and said, "No, this is the path we're going on. This is the path we need to be making change." And,
Yeah.
the other thing that I've noticed about these charts is anyone who has a snake in their chart in any of the 4 pillars, you have signed up for a life of transformation, whether you want to transform or not.
Mhm.
Is
Yeah,
it.
I agree.
Your life is gonna be about shedding your skin over and over and over again,
Mhm.
and that's what he had to do.
Yeah. He's got a really social chart, I feel, and I think that's why he
Mhm.
connected to people and
Yeah,
people connected to him. I mean,
yeah,
he's got a chart of somebody who, I mean, he's got 2 peach blossoms, the rat and the
yeah,
horse, which is that
yeah,
sexual energetic aura, and that
yeah,
seductive kind of snake and the playful monkey. He
yeah.
really was that kind of character. Fun animals, but his element wheel is just off balance, you know?
Very, very off balance. The thing that I find so cool about it, though, is that with that 0% wood, how we saw in those other 2 charts that we were talking about, maybe
Mhm.
not wanting to be seen and, because you know,
Mhm.
that that place, what you create is what represents the recognition that you receive.
Mm.
And it
Mm.
wasn't like he was very recognized during this life. Like you said, after he died was when he started to get more notoriety.
Mm.
But what is the element of community? And that's what he created.
Yeah.
He created a movement and community. So this is a way that he used that lack of wood in a positive way to up that
Mm,
percentage.
I love that. I pulled his death chart too.
Interesting.
Did, I don't have the hour, I don't think. Yeah, I don't have the hour. But it was a snake, pig, horse. So it's snake in the day pillar, pig in the
Wow.
month pillar. So that pig energy is a
Really?
clash.
Yeah, the clash to the month pillar, and the month is the
Destiny.
destiny pillar, isn't it?
It is. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that pig is opposite in the chart of the snake, and so, that snake desires transformation, it desires to be on its own, it desires the inward transformation into outward, whereas the pig is mostly about wanting to, connect with friends and roll around in the mud and be in the luxury of it all. It's the archetype of Miss Piggy, right?
Yeah.
She wants to have her feather boa and have her Kermit the Frog right next to her. The snake isn't interested in any of that. So when we see that clash, that can definitely play a
Hmm.
part in someone's demise.
Yeah, it redirects everything. I was
Mhm.
just sitting here thinking, like, why didn't we pull Dan White's chart?
We
The
should
guy
have, because that's who Harvey Milk was assassinated by, Dan
Mhm.
White.
Him and the mayor was the mayor of San Francisco.
Yeah,
They were killed
at the
within
same.
minutes of each other,
Yeah,
right in the state building. It's crazy.
yeah.
I'd love to know what I don't even know the story. Like I've never seen an interview or anything of why he was in a state of doing that.
Well, Dan White had he asked to be released from his position because he
Mhm.
was not making enough money to support his family on
Mm.
the income that they, and had Harvey Milk supported him in
So
moving one of the psychiatric
mm,
facilities that were in his district,
mhm,
he would have had more notoriety and gone to the next level in politics. But Harvey
mhm,
Milk, as he started researching it, didn't back up the moving of that psychiatric unit. So it all kind of came back on him. And
mm.
Dan White blamed Harvey Milk for that. And when Dan White came back to the courthouse to ask the mayor to reinstate him to his position, the mayor said no. And that's when he shot the mayor and Harvey.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Crazy.
Interesting stuff.
Yeah.
Interesting stuff. I know it's a little bit heavy to be looking at this chart, but I really wanted to talk about a revolutionary character in history
Mhm,
that really put his whole life on the line so that
mhm.
he could do for his community.
And it goes to show you the last 3 charts that we've looked at is they've been extreme. The element wheels
Very.
are extreme. And what I mean by that is you have high numbers and you've got low or zero numbers.
Mhm.
That's an extreme life. That's an extreme human experience. And
Yeah.
you there's I don't know if there's any way to get around it unless you have parents that totally are understand you and create safe space and all of that. Crazy.
Yeah.
Hey, guess what? We've
Yes.
got another chart to look at.
Oh my gosh, and this one's just a little bit lighter. This character's a little bit lighter. We're going to RuPaul. Oh my god. I love
What a
RuPaul.
what a character, right?
What a character. For those of you don't know who RuPaul is an American drag queen, television personality, actor, singer, producer, and writer. He produces, hosts, and judges the reality competition series RuPaul's Drag Race and has received several accolades, including 14 Primetime Emmy Awards, 3 GLAAD Media Awards, Critics' Choice Television Award, and 2 Billboard Music Awards, and a Tony Award. He
Jeez.
is dubbed the Queen of Drag, and he's the most popular drag queen in the United States and the most famous drag queen in the whole world. And here is another extreme chart. Oh my God. Starting out in his fifth house of creativity. This is the house of drama. This is the house of where we feel called to create. And he has 4 planets there, all in the sign of Scorpio. The Scorpio is the sign of transformation, death, rebirth, transformation.
Hmm.
It can also be related to sexual energy. The sun and the moon, he was born right during a new moon, right before a new moon. They call that the dark moon, when you can't see the moon in the sky. And those babies born during a new moon have a major thing to do in this lifetime. New beginnings, major transformation, especially in the sign of Scorpio. He also has Neptune, the planet of illusion, confusion, but also this is the planet of media. It's the planet of television, acting,
Hmm.
and also Mercury, the planet of communication, all in the sign of Scorpio. They call
Hmm.
this a stellium in Western astrology, when you have three or more planets all in the same house, all right next to each other in the same sign. Scorpio, I mean, is the only sign in the Western zodiac that has three levels of consciousness. The lowest level of consciousness is that of manipulation and control. They always say, "Beware the sting of the scorpion. One sting is deadly." That's why if you see a scorpion, you're like, "Oh my God, that is so cool! Look at that! Look at that little creature. It's so intricate. It's so amazing." But if you get too close, it will sting you every time. And
Hmm.
some scorpions, again, one sting is deadly. The mid level is that of the teacher, or they call this the eagle level. The
Hmm.
one who's able to fly above the situation, but also live a life of extremes to show people where to avoid the pitfalls in life. RuPaul, his start was he was one of the original club kids in New York City, dressing up in drag, going to the bars, getting recognition for being one of the club kids and dancing all night long and getting up to mischief and no good, right? And he lived the life. He lived all of those things in New York City that added to his experience so that he could transform and become something else. Again,
Hmm.
here's what drag is. Drag is putting on a costume or putting on something that makes you feel like your inner archetype, makes you feel more powerful, makes you feel more beautiful. And then the highest is that of the phoenix, rising from the ashes of death to let go of everything that no longer serves you in order to transform the lives of others. And that is what RuPaul has done. RuPaul is created a movement within his own right.
Hmm.
um not as not as I mean, he is a very political person and will always share his politics, but he's not in politics. He's chosen to go through the media. He's chosen to create a drag empire, to create a movement. And then his rising sign is also Gemini. Interestingly enough, both of our charts have Gemini energy. He's this
Hmm.
way sometimes, and then he's this way sometimes. These days he says, "I don't get into drag unless I'm paid for it. If you're gonna pay me enough money, then I'll get into drag," right?
Hmm. Love that.
So, yeah, I love this chart. So
Wow.
fun.
Great descriptions. Everything you were saying, you can like see him on TV or doing something, and it's like, that's it. Yep, that's it. Oh, yeah, that too.
Yeah,
That's so cool.
you can
I
kind of
love
see
that.
how that transformational energy has always been a part of his life. It's really cool.
Now, you said it's a cellium. Is that what you called it? The
Stellium,
stellium.
Stellium.
Okay. So you said 3 or more. What about what's in house 7? Is that also a stellium?
Very good catch. Love it. Yes, that's also a stellium. This stellium is in the sign of Capricorn in the seventh house of relationships, marriage and relationships. He has Venus. Wherever we find Venus, that's the pink one with the cross underneath. That's where we love. That's where we find love. It's what we love. And Jupiter, the planet of good fortune and abundance, that little orange the little orange glyph that looks like the number 4.
Mhm.
When you have Jupiter and Venus right next to each other, you're going to see good fortune and abundance in that area of your chart. And
Mhm.
then finally Saturn, that's home in its own sign of Capricorn. When you see Capricorn energy in the seventh house, this is a person who really looks at relationships like a business plan. Capricorn is the sign of business and industry.
Mm.
So, in order for RuPaul to feel comfortable in a relationship with someone else, it needs to run like a well oiled machine. And that's oftentimes when you hear RuPaul talk about his husband, that's kind of what it's like. They own a big ranch in the middle of Montana, in the middle of nowhere, where his husband most of the time stays, taking care of the ranch, taking care of the animals, taking care of the family business, right? And RuPaul's all over the world traveling for work, and then he comes home to his safe haven where his
Mhm.
husband is.
Mm. Oh,
I
that's
love that.
fascinating. Yeah, that's so fascinating. Anything else on this chart?
No, I mean, there's a lot of things. I could go on for hours about this chart, but
I
same thing with Harvey Milk, but
know.
we're limited on time, so let's
Yeah,
get to his Eastern.
yeah. Oh my gosh. I mean, I'm learning so much about Gemini with these two charts because another clash.
Yeah.
I know he doesn't have a clash. I'm sorry. I was looking at the wrong
Oh,
thing.
no.
But he's got the double rooster,
Yep.
right? Not that those clash. They do
No.
when you put two roosters together, though, right? That's like that
Mhm.
saying, there's only one rooster in the hen house.
Yep.
So there's hierarchy within birds families in the structure.
Yeah.
And he's definitely not afraid of confrontation, conflict. Like he holds his own. He's a double
Yeah.
rooster, right?
Yeah.
They're the cock of the walk, he's going
Mhm.
to hold strong. I think it's fascinating though that that's who he is internally, like in his hour pillar. And
Mhm.
then he's got this rat in the year pillar who's, we talked about rat. Like here's another gay man with rat in their chart.
Yeah.
That rat in that pillar is going to be it, I've seen it present more as hesitant. Okay, I've got to
Mm.
have a strategy. If I've got everything in place, then I feel safe in moving forward.
Yeah.
I'm sure at his age, I mean, he's what, 64?
Yeah.
64 years old. He's figured that out. Sorry, I feel like I'm all over the place. I'm not really landing
No, I love it. I
on
love
anything.
everywhere you're going. I love that he has a double rooster because when you see him, even out of drag, he has this presence about him.
Mhm.
Even if he doesn't say one word,
Yeah.
he has this presence about him that is regal. I mean, it's
Mhm.
very, very powerful.
Well,
He
and he's
knows how to
so
control.
tall and
Yeah,
he's in his smile, everything about him is just flashy and showy, like the colorful feathers of a rooster. You
yeah.
look, I mean, I don't know how you could miss him.
So, years ago, we're talking close to, I don't know, maybe 15, 16 years ago, RuPaul was the headliner for Salt Lake City Pride.
Oh,
And me and my boyfriend and his sister and a couple of friends, we went to the concert at one of the gay bars, and it was jam-packed, and it wasn't like a seated kind of situation. If you got in, you got in. And we were standing in line, we got in really quickly, and we
oh,
went
cool.
right to the front of the stage. And when RuPaul came onto the stage, we're talking about a man who is 6+ feet, but had on 6-inch stiletto heels. I mean, the tallest human I'd ever seen in my life, with this long blonde wig that came all the way down to his waist, and j he looked incredible, and the stage was a runway, and she worked that runway for an
Mm,
hour and a half, and we were blown away, and I I put my hand up and she touched my hand. And so that's my claim to
mm.
understanding RuPaul. I was able to touch RuPaul as she was singing one of her hit songs. And it was one of the funnest shows I've ever seen in my life.
Oh, what a
It was so
blast.
fun. Yeah.
What a
And I
man.
couldn't believe as RuPaul was reaching out to touch my hand that I was in Salt Lake City seeing
Right?
RuPaul. And this was before, you know, she reached stratospheric fame with RuPaul's Drag Race. This was when
Mhm.
she was in her music career and really singing, and it was so much fun.
Oh my gosh, what a fun memory.
It's such a fun memory. One of the things that I find interesting about both of these charts, these are both very, very stimulated and very ambitious people. But
Mm.
what controls you is actually a lower percentage in each of the charts.
Mhm. Right. I remember.
So
Yeah.
it's almost like they had to rely on their animals to find that inner motivation to get up and go and move forward with what they're wanting to do.
I actually had that written right on this piece of paper, indigo, because I hadn't looked at their charts until today, just now.
Yeah, me
So
neither.
that's indigo energy. So if you're
Mm,
listening to this and you've heard the term indigo children, these are like the pioneers. These are
mhm,
the ones who like pushed the way forward so that indigo generation could transpire. And so how that's appearing in the chart, because this is what I've learned over the years, that when that element is low in the position where RuPaul's is in that wood at
mhm,
3.75%, because ideally we want it at around 20%, those people aren't influenced so much by outside influences, by fear, rejection, guilt, shame, any of that, judgment. They're not influenced by it. So they're motivated internally.
mhm,
They're intrinsically driven to do what they do. It's not
mhm.
because somebody said, "Oh, you'd be really good at this." They don't really care what you think they'd be good
No.
at. And that's the young generation. That's the
Yeah.
millennials and the Gen Zers that we're dealing with. I think the alphas are more crystalline energy, but
Mhm.
anyway, good catch on that. Looking for that
Yeah.
pattern.
Yeah, I love seeing that pattern, and, I also love seeing high water in his chart. That would be one of the reasons why he's extremely rich.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a um, architectural digest. If you go to their website, I don't think it's his ranch in Montana. I think it's a Hollywood home.
Yeah, I
But
saw that. It's his Hollywood home.
yeah, so it's called Open Door. So just go to their website, or you can probably just search Architectural Digest Open Door RuPaul, even on YouTube or whatever. And it's probably like a 10-15 minute walkthrough of his home. And it so speaks of who he is, the roosters and the pig. Because you said
Oh, the
Miss
pig.
Piggy earlier,
Oh
right?
my
The
god,
feather
yeah, the pig.
boa and the tiara and glamming it up. It's all about indulging in the luxuries
Yeah,
of life.
yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
I love that, and that's also very clear in the decor that he and his husband have used in the Hollywood home. It'd be
Mhm.
interesting to see what the ranch looks like. I'm guessing that the ranch probably doesn't look very similar to the Hollywood home, but I
Well,
don't know.
yeah, the ranch is interesting. I had never heard about that, but the husband and the ranch are earth energy, and that's what keeps him grounded because that's his
Ah,
master that he's
that's
low
the
in.
master. Mhm.
So that's like you said, he
Amazing.
flies around, but he anchors back to
Yeah,
this
he's home.
homestead that Montana couldn't be more earthy, couldn't be more
Oh,
down to
yeah,
earth.
and I love
That's
that it's Montana too.
mhm.
I love that. I'm sure that it just pisses people off.
Exactly. Totally.
We've
Are you
got the
kidding?
drag queen that lives next door, right? Oh, yeah.
Oh, oh,
Yeah,
I
and
love that too.
even though, both of these charts are very, both of these people were revolutionaries in their own way. Um, it was because of the work that Harvey Milk was doing that RuPaul would be able to have that
Mhm.
double rooster be seen and
Yeah,
to be known and to be recognized. So,
yeah. I mean, he's got 3 peach blossoms and that insatiable appetite of the pig.
yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And so I love that he was able to, focus that, creative energy or sexual energy into his craft.
Mhm. It's interesting that you just said creative because I was thinking like what Harvey Milk was, it felt more like practical hard work to be done.
Mhm.
where RuPaul has come in and created an art form, a way to
Mm,
appreciate and observe and be a part of an experience.
yeah.
Um, but like you said, they needed each other to do this.
Yeah, and the whole message of RuPaul's Drag Race is to find your own voice, to find your own creative flair, your own message to
Hmm.
send it out to the world. He
Yeah.
encourages those drag queens to do the same thing.
Wow. What a fascinating couple we chose.
I know, it's amazing. I am really inspired
Mm.
by both, people that we chose today, and I love doing this tribute to them because, I think that it's important. I think that for those that don't really understand why the LGBTQ community celebrates Pride Month, these are some of the reasons why. When we don't feel like we're represented in the world, when little boy Jeremy was growing up in Sandy, Utah, and turned on the TV, there were no characters on TV that represented me until the late 90s when I turned on the television to see Will and Grace.
Oh.
And when I saw Will and Grace, that was after I returned from my mission. So, I mean, just, seeing that kind of representation was really important. And so now for all of the little boys and girls and people out there that are struggling with their sexuality or their identity or their gender or any of the above, now there's representation on television. Now there's representation out there because of some of the things that the people that we talked about are doing.
Hmm. Wow. Thank you for being here. Thank you. I'm glad you're here because I know it wasn't easy.
Yeah,
And
it's not been an easy. I've got a snake in my chart. I'm required to transform daily.
well, and you're not just transforming yourself, you're transforming the people around you.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful for that. I think I'm grateful for our friendship and what you've taught me. Your
Mhm.
inspiration. You're so inspiring. I mean, we've all
Oh,
been through our stuff, right? And some of it, people know about, and some of it people don't. But I
mhm.
appreciate you speaking about it here. And I didn't realize your uncle. Hello,
Yeah,
uncle. He's probably listening. I didn't
Uncle
realize
Shane
he
in
was gay
Canada.
too.
Thanks for listening.
That's so
Yeah,
cool.
he's always been an inspiration for me. I've been always so glad that I have him in the family. We're the only 2
Mhm.
in the whole
Really?
extended family. Yeah. Yeah, we come from a very Mormon background, very religious background, so having him has always been kind of it's kind of an interesting story too, because when I was getting ready to go on an LDS mission, I was preparing to go and I was in Jesus mode and I was like, he was living at my grandparents' house and I was just like, I just think that your life would be better with Jesus in it. And he goes, honey, I'm fine without Jesus. And that somehow that just kind of reverberated in my soul. I'm fine
Mhm.
without Jesus. And I thought,
Mm.
wow. In my mind, I was like, oh, maybe I can be fine without Jesus.
Mhm.
Maybe that's a path that I can take that
Mhm.
isn't going to be as painful or devastating as I think it might. So, and he's
Mm.
also the one that got me into astrology. Years and years ago, I would get in conversations with him about religion as opposed to astrology, and I'm like, "The planets can't tell you anything, only Jesus can." And he goes, "Well, maybe someday you might learn different." And boy, did I.
And look at you now.
Look at me now. He created an astrological monster.
So let me ask you, how's the church doing with the gays? What's their
Ugh,
relationship?
ugh, barf. Um,
Mm.
they put on a good face that they're really accepting, but they're not.
Mm.
They're not. None of their policies are, engaging. None of their policies are, welcoming. It's all very, very, anti-gay. There's a
Mm.
lot. I mean, one of the reasons why Utah is one of the highest suicide rates in the United States is because of the LDS Church.
Mhm.
None of their policies are, um, support of humanity. It's all very divisive and very, very critical. So
Mm,
you would think that in hundreds of years, things would have changed by now, but no, they're not
mhm.
going to change, especially in religion.
Yeah, because I think
The
I don't know if you mentioned here or in a different class setting that you mentioned that there is a mass exodus from religion and from
There
churches.
is,
And we see it
and
here in
from
Utah.
absolutely. There's in fact, there's multiple lawyers in Salt Lake City that have websites. You can just go to the website now, enter your information, and they will remove your records from the church. When I removed my records years and years ago, it was a whole process. I had to get it notarized. I had to get all of the signatures just
Mm,
so that it would actually go through, and it was a 4-month process. Well, now you can get it done within 24 hours. So for all of you that are thinking about having your records removed, I highly recommend going to um, just getting online and Googling lawyers local to your state and city or country that can have your records removed without getting any, um, follow up from the LDS Church.
yeah. Oh my goodness. Because they're persistent.
They're persistent. I'm not even oh man, I had a situation the other day. I mean, I've left the church, physically over 20 years ago. I had my records removed about 15, 16 years ago. But uh just the other day I was just winding down for the evening and I got a knock at the door, and my husband and our roommate were kind of just relaxing too, and I happened to be right by the door, and I opened the door, and here's an Aries rant for you. I opened the door and it was this guy who had a red wagon, like the kind of red wagons that we would play with as kids, right?
The Rider wagon. Was it
Yeah,
Rider?
the
No.
red yeah.
Mhm.
And he looked at me and he goes, "Hi." And I looked at his clothes and I saw a baseball cap. He had a big necklace on with an emblem on it and a t-shirt. And on all of his clothing was Jesus loves you. And I mean, for someone that
Right.
suffers from anxiety and depression and PTSD, all of the above, I might as well open the door to a man holding a machine gun.
Mhm.
And he looked at me and he goes, "Hi, I just got home from my mission and I'm raising money for college. And I wanted to know if you'd like to buy any of my t shirts because I want you to know that Jesus loves you." And of course, in those situations, I just kind of froze and I was like, and I just looked at him and I put up my finger and I said, "No, we are gay." And I closed. And right as I'm closing the door, he was getting ready to say, "Oh, that's okay. Jesus loves you anyway." And I'm thinking
Just
to
buy the
myself,
fucking
"Go fuck
hat.
yourself, man. I don't give a shit who Jesus loves." So, for those of you who are listening that may be Christian or may, have an affiliation with Jesus in any way, you need to know that that energy is very triggering to many people in my community. We're not fans of
Mm,
Jesus.
mm.
We're
Not the
not.
way they
I mean,
presented Jesus.
not the way they presented Jesus as this
Mm-mm.
kind, loving individual. The
Mhm.
Jesus that I grew up with was a very angry and demanding God that was going to condemn me to a place called hell where I would burn for all eternity.
Mm,
That was the image that was forced down my throat in my family and also in my community and church. So
mm,
opening my safe space up to a boy that's he didn't mean any harm, I'm sure,
mm-mm.
but it was highly inappropriate for me to open the door and be like, "Ugh," it was very jarring. You didn't open the door for him.
No, because I look at my Ring camera and go, "Oh, he's selling hats? I don't want a fucking hat." I didn't realize until after you texted me what happened. I went out the front door and he had left us a little sticker with the heart that says Jesus cares. And I I guess it's kind of like the rant with the dog. It's like
Yeah,
don't assume that everybody loves your dog. Don't
mhm,
assume that everybody loves your God.
yeah,
Like and my response to you is why are you answering the door? Don't answer the door.
and guess what? I'm not going to. I've told my husband, I'm not
Mhm.
answering the door ever again,
Yeah.
and one of the reasons why I wanted to bring up this rant is because I hope it's okay that I share the text message that you sent back to me.
Mhm.
But, and this is a great way to sum up this episode. You said, "I feel so sad for little young Jeremy. I want you
Mhm.
to tell him that I will always be a safe place for him and that I love him." And in that moment, I literally crumbled. I was in my bathroom and I read that text and I started crying because there's not many places where people and members of the LGBTQ community feel safe, and people have to be our safe space. So thank you for being a safe space. Thank you for being one of my people that is safe for
Mhm.
me and that I feel comfortable with and safe with. So many of us need to hear that we're safe with other individuals because we don't feel safe on the planet. So thank you
Mm.
for being that for me.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you. Because that's who you are for me. But that's another topic for another episode.
I'm glad that we can be that for each other.
Yeah.
Just one question I would like to leave everyone listening is we talked about 2 individuals that are revolutionary, individuals. Where are you creating revolution in your life? It doesn't have to be as big as RuPaul or Harvey Milk, but where are you standing up for yourself? Where are you taking the center stage and voicing your opinion and really revolutionizing your life in order to help and revolutionize other people's lives?
Yeah.
Comment below. We'd love to hear where you're taking your revolutionary energy out there in the world because it's very heightened right now. We're all
Mhm.
being required to step up and stand up and be in our own power.
And it might be, because not everybody's chart holds the weight of the charts we looked at today. But
Yeah.
then what is a cause or what is important to you?
Mm.
And find just a place where you can be, that your presence and your energy can support that. If you don't feel comfortable, raising a flag or pounding your fist, show up. That's a great question. I love that. I love Harvey Milk's "I want to recruit you." It's
Yes,
kind of it's so powerful, and it
it
was so
is.
silly sometimes.
Yeah.
Anyway, a happy Pride Month, everyone.
Happy Pride Month.
Jeremy and your husband.
Yes, thank you. Toshi went to Pride. I can't go to Pride anymore because there's too many people. I have social anxiety, so I don't go. But apparently, there was a huge crowd this year. Salt Lake City, Utah, throws a huge festival, and there's thousands of people that come from all around the country. So apparently, it was a really good this year. So
Well, I've never been, so maybe next summer I'll give you some
okay,
Valium and we'll head downtown.
I'm I'm already wrapping my mind around Pride next year.
Okay.
I'm already prepping for it, so we
Okay.
can do it.
All right. Be safe, everyone. We love you.
Bye.
Bye bye.